welcome back to my channel. My name is Lilian Tahmasian. I am so excited to share this video with you guys. I had so much fun filming this. But before I get into the video, I would quickly want to say a massive thank you to our sponsors for this video, Untitled Jewelry. They are the sweetest company. I met them a few months ago, I want to say, and they have had the sweetest customer service. They sent over beautiful, gorgeous pieces, which I'm going to show you guys a close-up version. I decided to personally go with this beautiful necklace. It just looked very elegant and it can be worn with a lot of different outfits, as well as this ring. I just think it looked very timeless. The pieces come beautifully packaged in a parcel that looks like this, so it's perfect for gifts as well. They have a beautiful set if you want to buy engagement jewelry, wedding jewelry, gifts for your family, your friends, your loved ones. They are so easy to work with. They have the sweetest customer service. They have great things like free shipping. They have a 60-day return and exchange policy, which is great if you buy something and you want to return it. They just have such a variety of things that you can choose from. You can also get 20% off if you use the code word Lilian20, which I'm going to pop over here. But thank you so much to Untitled Jewelry for sponsoring this video, and I hope you guys love them the way I have. Before we jump into the video, please be sure to have a look at their website. I'm going to link it in the description below. Don't forget to use your code word Lilian20 for 20% off anything on the website. And let me know if you pick anything from their site. Tag me in the photos.
Hi, this is so sweet. Thank you, mommy.
All Australian snacks.
Thank you.
They have to try them all.
Oh, my kids are gonna fight over this, but I'm gonna end up eating it all. It's nice and heavy.
Enjoy.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet. Welcome to my house.
Thank you for having us.
Come on in. Come on. I'll give you a quick tour, and then we go upstairs to the closet.
My name is Lilian Tahmasian. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to be interviewing the amazing, talented, beautiful Tina Odjaghian.
You're so sweet. I love you. Thank you.
So I have a few questions. She doesn't know what we're asking her, so it's going to be a bit of a surprise. But before we jump into it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos. And as always, leave your comments and your thoughts below in the description. So let's get into it. We see a bit of a tiny glimpse of your life. So tell us where you come from, what do you do, and how you got to where you are.
How much time do you have? No, I'm just kidding. Well, my Instagram is a pretty good representation of my life in a sense that, you know, I know that Instagram is all polished and we're posting all the, you know, highlights and so forth, and but really I do my very best to post my good days, my bad days, my family life, my professional life, my hobby, you know, and be as authentic as possible so that my followers can resonate with it and I feel relatable to them, and I want to share with them and give of myself. And so, you know, I use my Instagram page to do that, and I hope it comes through. I'm a first-generation immigrant kid who moved here at the age of 10. And thanks to the sacrifices my parents made, I got to live out my American dream. And I am an attorney. I practice catastrophic injury litigation with an emphasis on brain injury. I help people who are really badly injured. Hopefully you never need my services. And, you know, I try to do my best in my practice to advocate for folks who need it the most, to empower other women, you know, to take positions of power, to advance their careers, to advance their lives in a way you know, that historically has been difficult to do because of the gender biases that exist. I try to have some me time with hobbies that I love. I love fashion. I love time with my family. I try to spend a lot of time with my kids. I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. But, you know, so what you see on Instagram is a pretty adequate representation of little snapshots of what happens in this house.
I love that. No, I love it. I think like when you meet someone, it's all about that energy, and I feel like that energy that she has is so truly like positive and just light and airy. I don't know.
I feel the same about you, and I love your accent. I think it's the coolest. I had to get rid of mine when I first moved here. I had a British accent.
You did?
Yeah, kids are bullies at that age though, so I had to lose it.
They were jealous.
I don't know. I think they just can't understand you, so they're, you know.
So rude.
I know.
No, they were jealous. Whatever. They were jealous. But
Let's go with that.
I can't believe you had a British accent. Well, what do you mean you got rid of it? You just practiced?
I practiced until I lost it. Yeah. Yeah, it was brutal at that age. I was the only brown kid in an all-white school, and like, it was not fun for me.
And now look.
Yeah.
You have like a mix of law and fashion. You're like a real life Elle Woods. She really is. Like Elle Woods closet right here. How did that come about? Or were you always obsessed with fashion?
Legally brunette. My grandmother, my dad's mom, was a dentist back in Iran. She was she was actually the only female who graduated in a class of like 250 men or something. But she was always like impeccably dressed and, you know, took her appearance very seriously. I think most of our parents in the old country did, because they felt it was a representation of who you were, and you always want to look presentable. And so, you know, I grew up watching her and watching my mom, who was really a fashionista as well. And I just developed a love for that kind of thing early on. And I reconcile the two, because I look at it like fashion is art. I spend my life in it. And it's part of my wardrobe, you know, and what I do. And so I think it's really important. I think, you know, you feel a certain way when you wear clothes, and you evoke a certain kind of confidence, and others perceive that. And so I use fashion and wardrobe in my law practice as well. You know, just depending on if I'm in trial, if I'm in a deposition, who I'm cross-examining, how I want to dress, how I want to come across, how I want to feel on that particular day. So I like to think that they're not so far apart, but, you know, law is my profession and my passion, in a sense that I love helping people who need my help the most, people who need it the most, who are catastrophically injured. And I love fashion because it makes me feel alive, and it's a hobby and it's a passion. And so I like merging the two. But with COVID, you know, we've spent the last 2 years in pajamas, and so hence my pajama today.
Very chic pajama look. No, I love that. I do feel like fashion does like change the way you feel, you look, your attitude, gives you more confidence. So I completely agree. You have such a beautiful character, and that's hard to come across in LA, especially because we're in the, you know, we're around a certain type of industry. You know, people come here to, you know, they have goals and dreams. So where does this character come from, like this livelihood? And also, is this why you started creating reels? Because I love your reels, and I feel like everyone's obsessed with them.
First of all, you're so sweet for prefacing that question so kindly. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that part of it is that I'm doing a real job, and I've got people to represent, and I've got people who are relying on me. And so my focus really isn't how I'm coming across or you know, my Instagram reel. My focus is doing my job. And so a lot of my reels and such stem from, you know, portions of my day where I'm doing my job. I think LA is a tough city, especially if you're new here. You know, people can get jaded. They're sort of tend to be an unkind culture, but I think once you get to know people, everyone's just putting up a front because everyone's in the same boat. And so if you come from a place of kindness and you put that out there, you're bound to get it back.
100%. You
know what I mean? They get that same energy back. So I get the criticisms. I hear them, you know, from colleagues, from followers, and so forth. And I used to be really sensitive, and I would let it get to me. But now, yeah. But I've learned, and that comes with age, you know, that to let the negative stuff roll off, because that person's probably got something of their own they're projecting onto you, and then let the positive stuff sink in. And I know how good that feels, and you know, I make it my effort to do that for others and to make them feel good. And so if I've got a genuine compliment to pay someone, if I can help make a meaningful difference in someone's life, I'll go out of my way to do it, because I know that, you know, it resonates and it goes back and comes back tenfold. So thank you for that, though. I appreciate you saying that. Reels, going to reels. Okay, why did I start doing reels? Yes. I love fashion, and I would watch them, and I would make fun of my husband because, you know, he spends all this time on like Facebook and Instagram, and I'd be like, oh my God, you're wasting your time. And then I'm like, you know what, there's something to it. So I started watching them. I'm like, these are so entertaining. I want to do this. Yeah. And then I was like, a second though, I'm this serious attorney. You know, how am I going to be perceived by my peers? And I started doing it 6-7 years ago when it wasn't as acceptable to market in this kind of way, particularly from my very conservative industry. And so I had people telling me, I don't know if you're going to be taken seriously, maybe you ought not, but I was like, the hell with it, I'm going to do it. It's a creative outlet for me. I had 10 years of really great results under my belt legally, so I felt like those results spoke for themselves, and if people are going to judge me based on the reels and the fashion and the other side of my personality, then they're probably not important in my life. And so, you know, I preach, try to be yourself, and I'm an example of that. I try to lead by example and do that, and with the understanding that there's going to be critics, and I just have to be okay with that, and I am.
Firstly, two things. I've never met someone that talks as fast as me. Can you agree, Mom? Never. And I literally, I'm like, I understand exactly what she's saying, but now I know what people say when they hear me speak. They're like, wait, what? And like, I literally understood her.
I've had a judge threaten to sanction me if I don't slow down because the court reporter takes it all down, and he was worried that she was gonna like get like wrist cramps and stuff. So yes, I do have the tendency to speak fast. I'm gonna try to take a breath.
No, I love that. That's literally me. And also I was gonna say, going back to your first point, I feel like you know, good people attract good people. And I truly believe that. And I feel like, you know, it might take longer or whatever it is. But now, after 4 years of being here, I feel like, oh my gosh, like the weirdest things happen. Like God just like plops people into your lap. And I'm like,
so true.
Thank you. But I feel like we're all like so similar. You know what I mean? Just like I'm pretty much saying I'm like how good I am.
No, you get what you put out, and you've got a great aura about you. You're very positive. You're very uplifting. Your content is the same way. It impacts people in a positive way. And there's something to be said for that, you know? And so it definitely comes off.
Thank you, thank you. So you kind of answered this, but let me know if you want to add on to anything. So you have such a drive, and it's like inspiring look. Where does this drive come from? Who's your biggest hero?
So look, I've had the good fortune of having great role models in my path. When we first moved out here, my dad was gone for 25 years working, and my mom would work crazy hours to make ends meet. And I was really lucky by the grace of God and a bunch of guardian angels along the way, right? And I love and respect all of them, from law school professors to, you know, parents of good friends to, you know, extended family members. But my hero is probably my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, Aurangzeb. She was named after an Armenian queen, and she really was, you know, way ahead of her time. Just an incredible human being. She was a dentist back in Iran, the only female to graduate in a class of 200 men. Very strong-willed, just amazing. She was an incredible individual, and she had a huge influence on my life because she raised me for part of my life, you know, when we were in Iran. And then when we moved out here, she moved out here as well. And for a short time during undergrad and law school, I actually moved in with her because I wanted peace and quiet. And her little apartment was just more conducive to me studying and getting stuff done. And I just really enjoyed her company, and I didn't want to leave her alone. And so, you know, we would have so many conversations, like life lessons, pearls of wisdom. Back then, like stories she would tell me that I carry with me, and like little reels, you know? And so she was probably, I mean, by far one of the most influential people growing up in my life. My fashion idol is probably Iris, because she's 101 years old. If you don't know her, you gotta follow her on Instagram. She's fucking awesome. I just dropped an F-bomb. I don't know if that's okay. No, but you know, she's 101 and real as can be, and I love her and I look up to her because she is a great example that fashion and good style is ageless. I think her presence and presence of other influencers like her is so valuable in the face of, you know, these new wave of influencers, all of whom look the same. Seriously. All of whom have been getting work done since the age of 12. And it's just like, you know, with all due respect, I've got some friends like that. It's just really...
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Look, it's an epidemic because it's giving young women the mistaken impression that's the norm. That's the norm, and it really just isn't. It's not feasible. It's not, you know, sustainable. It's not healthy for so many reasons, and I just worry about what that's going to do for, you know, for the future of women. I love following influencers who look their age, act their age, have great style, have great presence, have positive energy, and
they're different. People that are different, not trying to fit into the same mold. Right, that everyone else is trying to fit into.
Exactly.
When I first moved here, I went to this wedding, and it was like 2016, fresh from Australia. In Australia, people are very natural. Like things are just, you know, starting to come in with skincare and procedures to kind of enhance your age and things like that. So I go to a wedding, and I kid you not, I'm like, wow, they're all related. They all have the same nose. They all have the same hair. They all have the same body. And I kid you not, I thought they were related. And it sounds like, no, they have the same doctor. But I had no idea, you know, coming from Australia, it's so different, you know. But whatever makes people
You're very fortunate. Like, I can't tell you how many times on Instagram I have to do a double take because I'm like, oh, that's Kim K. And I look and I'm like, oh, no, it's not. I just look like someone who looks identical to her. And she's beautiful and they're beautiful. But I don't know. There's something to be said about being different, about being unique, about, you know, not distorting the natural characteristics, recognizable characteristics of your face. You know, I always joke, I went to get some Botox done because I get some Botox done prophylactically because I'm a frowner. And, you know, I go to my friend Anush now and she's amazing and she's super natural and she wouldn't try to push anything on me. But this other one was like, you know, your chin's really short and you've got like, you need to.
I saw that on the stories.
And I was like, you know, my son's got a short chin. I look like him. I've lived with it for 4 decades of my life. I think I'm good. But there's a bigger picture to be said. It's not about like, you know, the aesthetics and the, you know, superficiality of it all. It's just about the deeper message of what we're sending to our kids, that this is the norm and this is what's expected and this is what's important and this is what's a priority. And I find myself scrolling through these pictures and half the time I like the before photos better.
I think
you know? And so, you know, it's an unpopular opinion, but it's certainly one that I've got and I share it.
But I think if no one does anything about it, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine like what the next generation, our kids, are going to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is another question that I had in mind. Okay, so mom guilt. Mom guilt, I mean, I'm not a mom yet, but like I can imagine. I hear about it all the time. I just saw an interview with Hilary Duff saying that mom guilt is very much a thing and she feels frozen because she doesn't know what to do sometimes. Do you get that, and how do you kind of try avoiding that? Or like tell me all about that.
Mom guilt, mom shaming is very much a thing. Someone sent me a video of a colleague the other day who had, you know, posted something about mom guilt isn't real, it's in your head. And I cringed a little because I just thought, first of all, it's very much a thing, you know, if you're maternal. And secondly, I wouldn't want to give my friends, followers, colleagues the impression that if they're feeling a certain kind of way, like they're feeling the mom guilt, which is very natural, that there's something wrong with that. Because I feel almost as though if you're not feeling it, this is a disconnect there. There's something wrong, right? Yeah. And so I do everything I can to include my kids in every aspect of my life. And I do that because I think it's good for them, because I feel like on some level I'm setting an example for them of what a strong woman should look like. So if I have to pull them out of school one day and take them to a conference I'm speaking at, I do that. If I have to take them out on Friday, which is date night, to a really nice restaurant, annoy the nice folks next to me, I do that. I don't care. I want to give them all the things I didn't have growing up, the most important of which is like family time together and memories together. But there are those times where I'm like, shit, I would love to have made that basketball practice tonight. I'll make the game this weekend, but God, that really sucks. I gotta sit here and finish, you know, this, that, or the other. And you're one person and bandwidth is limited, and I do my very best to juggle. But yeah, I mean, mom guilt is very real. If I can have someone pick them up for me, you know, while I'm getting work done, then when they get home, I get to actually sit with them and read with them and eat with them and cook with them. That to me is like quality time.
This is a bit of a random question, but like I love hearing stories like this from wherever I meet. How did you meet your husband, and was it love at first sight?
It was most definitely not love at first sight.
Okay.
Great.
You know?
Yes, he absolutely knows. We went to high school together, like
no way.
Decades ago. And I kind of noticed him in high school. He noticed me, but we ran in different circles. I was a bit of a troublemaker. I spent most of my time in the detention hall. Wasn't, you know.
Wait, you did?
I did. I would put makeup on in class. I wouldn't listen. I would ditch class.
What? I would never guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate. I was fortunate in that I never, you know, really got into substance abuse or anything like that. I think it was too chicken, but thank God. But you know, yeah, I definitely was not a law-abiding citizen at school by any means, and so I was a bit of a troublemaker. He, on the other hand, was a bit of a nerd. And, you know, he was on the water polo team. And so we ran in completely different circles. Like, we'd seen each other, but we hadn't really spoken. And then, like, 20 years ago, I keep saying 20 years ago, I'm sure it's more than that now, but his parents moved in across the street from my parents. And so, you know, we became friends. We started talking, hanging out. And he was like, I'm in dental school. We should study together sometime. And I was like, you're Armenian, which probably means you're a troublemaker. I don't know. Like, because we've got this like stigma in our head of what, We hung out, and then I think he was trying to date me, but I didn't quite get it because I had guy friends my whole life. Yeah. So he invited me to go to his winter formal with him, his dental school winter formal. And I thought, okay, sure, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it. And then on the day of, I was like really sick and I didn't have his phone number. Dad, can you go knock on that neighbor's door and tell him that I can't go out with the sun tonight because I'm really sick? And so he did. It was a bit awkward. And then he came over to check on me, but really to check and see if I was lying or not.
Make sure you're really homesick, yeah.
Yeah, and then we just kind of studied together. We were friends first, and it kind of grew from there. So when they asked, was it love at first sight? It most certainly was not. It was friendship at first sight, and it kind of grew from there.
I love that. I'm such a sucker for love stories. So Tina, your Instagram page is not a typical attorney page. Are you worried people are going to judge you?
No, I certainly hope that they do judge me for being different, because I pride myself on that. But that's a really good question. Look, I started doing it 6 years ago, where I thought, rather than having a personal page and a professional page, I'm just going to have one page that's going to convey all different aspects of my life, right? And it's going to be real, and it's going to be authentic. It's going to talk about my work. It's going to talk about the fashion. It's going to talk about my family. I believe, despite what conventional methods were saying at the time, right, that people don't want to just look at a generic business page. They all look the same. Like, they want to relate with the person behind it. I got a lot of flack from people in the legal, from colleagues and folks in the legal industry. There's a lot of whispers, but then now they're all doing it. It's really funny, but I'd like to take some of the credit for that. Funny enough, the negative remarks come from people who will later conform and try to copy and whatever. So I think it's more a reflection of their own insecurities that they're projecting rather than their opinion of what I'm doing. So I certainly hope they judge me and appreciate me for being different. Am I worried? No. Was I worried in the beginning? No. I made a decision. I went with my gut. And it's the best thing I ever did.
And it makes you, you know?
Yeah.
That's why you stand out. From what I've seen, you have 2 beautiful kids and they are very well-mannered. How are you as a mom? From what I see, I don't know, they could be nightmares.
They are really not well-mannered, but...
Oh my God. That's a no.
Look, I struggle, right? Because there's a couple of dynamics that I struggle with in parenting, and it's constant work in progress, and really my husband and I try to be on the same page and do the very best that we can. One of the dynamics is, I think that I'm a real go-getter and an achiever because I was a first-generation immigrant and I didn't have things handed to me. And when my mom told me she can't do something for me, she really couldn't, and it was apparent. But with me, it's very difficult to place those limitations on my kids in that way because, you know, they're blessed with a lot more than I was. And so there's this need to be more disciplined and more sort of on top of things, which I do. But I also have a really fun, relaxed personality. For example, we're a curse-friendly household. So
oh, you are.
We are. And I think it's a form of self-expression. A lot of people disagree with me. I've gotten some flack on it from Instagram, from people advising me to not curse in front of my kids.
They say that? People message you saying,
yeah, they do.
Who ask these people for their opinion?
They really do. So, you know, I am the disciplinarian and I'm very chill, you know, but they know when mommy says something, she means business, and so they shape up real quick. But with the same token, you know, I'm not as disciplined with them, no, as my mom was with me. My mom was super, super strict. And so I want to encourage their characters to develop in a way that they want, and for them to express themselves more freely. So I'm not as kind of strict and stringent with them necessarily, but at the same token, it's all trial and error, right?
I love how I started like this, so well behaved.
They definitely.
She's like, absolutely not.
Just ask the nice folks at the table next to us at restaurants, and they will tell you, short of throwing food at them.
So this is one of my favorite questions that I ask, that I find inspiring. What would you tell your 16-year-old self if you could go back?
I actually get this question a lot, believe it or not. And my answer always centers around the same thing, which is the one thing that we don't have in our teens is the benefit of achieving, right? And being kind of tried and true. and the confidence that comes with achieving and standing on your own 2 feet and getting to the next milestone and the next one, and what that does for your character and the way in which you present yourself, right? As a first-generation immigrant kid growing up here with a mom that worked full-time and a dad that wasn't around, I struggled a lot with self-confidence and self-esteem issues. And so, you know, if there's something I could tell my 16-year-old self, or a 16-year-old who's listening, is as bad as things may seem now, they're so temporary, and you have your entire life ahead of you to change the paradigm, and you've got the power, nobody else. You've got everything that it takes. If a first-generation immigrant kid without 2 cents in her pocket had the ability to go through public school and get herself situated in the American dream, then anybody can do it. So just have confidence that you've got what it takes. Nurture yourself, be kind to yourself, and have faith that everything will turn out as it should.
That's so beautiful. No, seriously, that's so true. I love that. So, Tina, what's the biggest misconception of you?
Well, I'm sure there are many, but hopefully some of them have disappeared now with my social media presence, because everyone's seeing me for the goofball that I really am. But I don't know, I think the ones that I'm aware of, at least professionally speaking, I think maybe in the beginning of my career I was regarded as legally brunette. Kind of like Elle Woods. I like that Elle Woods reference you made earlier on. People thought that because I looked a certain way or presented myself a certain way, you know, that I must not have been very good at what I do. And I take my work very, very seriously. And so I can't tell you the number of times I've walked into a courtroom and gotten mistaken for the interpreter, the court reporter. We've come a long way as women in this profession, but particularly early on, I'm sure one of the biggest misconceptions was, you know, that I was underestimated by my opponent. But I learned early on to use that to my advantage. And being, you know, underestimated was the biggest gift I ever received, because I got to sneak up and do what I needed to do, and you know,
put them in there.
But yeah, and I mean, they didn't see it coming, which was really a gift. Personally, there's a misconception that maybe I'm not very friendly, or that I'm kind of bitchy because I've got, I guess, a serious demeanor, I'm told at first.
She's so mean off camera, you guys. She's so rude. I'm joking. She's the sweetest thing alive. But go ahead.
You're so kind. But no, you know, look, I'm, for being as social as I am, I'm pretty much an introvert a little bit still. It takes me a while to get comfortable with my surroundings, and I get a lot of social anxiety when I go to new places, big crowds. I fidget. It takes me a minute to get comfortable. So I think what people are perceiving as, like, you know, bitchiness or, you know, unfriendliness is just my own, I don't know, introvertedness.
So how do you help your community? Who are your go-to organizations to help?
Philanthropy is a big part of what I do, right? I think, you know, in my work, I get to help people who are really badly injured at the most difficult time in their lives. And that's really what drives me, right? And so my philanthropical work kind of stems from that. I look at things I'm passionate about, and I use my social media platform as a megaphone to bring attention to those things, and those are the things that I'm involved in. One example is, like, you know, bringing attention to gender bias in the workplace, and empowering young women that are coming up in this profession and other professions. So I do a lot of mentoring through different organizations, you know, whenever I can, officially, unofficially, for people who reach out to me on social media. But I sit on the governing board of UCLA Department of Neurosurgery and Neurosciences. And through my work there, we try to raise funds for people who go to the UCLA hospital and need those emergent services, neurosurgery and such, and don't have insurance and don't have money. So I feel really passionate about that, because UCLA is one of the leading hospitals, not only in the nation, but in the world,
of course,
for their neurosurgery, you know, for the neurosurgery department. It's such a privilege to be among these people. They're so intelligent, these medical doctors. Half the stuff they do goes over my head, but I am a bit of a nerd, and it is in line with brain injury litigation, which is what I practice. So I just love that, and I love the work that I do there. I was on the board of the Armenian Bar Association for almost a decade. I recently rolled off because I really don't like to be involved in organizations by name only. I want to be able to contribute, you know, not only financially, but of my time and of myself. And so I started my own nonprofit a few years ago. It's called Brain SoCal, and it's dedicated to providing resources and education for people who serve the brain injury community. So we put on conferences once a year where we bring in like the most cutting edge medicine and doctors and lawyers who've had outstanding results in our profession, to teach other younger lawyers and physicians how to properly diagnose, but mostly how to litigate these cases, how to get, you know, do the best they can for their clients.
What happened the day that you won your first trial? Like, how did you feel? What was that day like? Tell us.
I was very fortunate in that a lot of, you know, baby lawyers will sometimes work on, you know, lower stake cases in the beginning and, you know, sharpen their tools, and then they'll eventually work their way up to catastrophic cases. But I started out as a defense lawyer the first 2 years of my practice, and then I went into plaintiff's work myself. And, you know, my first case as a solo plaintiff's lawyer was a catastrophic injury case on the job. I had a client who was test driving a motorcycle. He had assembled it and it malfunctioned, and when he was going on that little test ride at 35 miles an hour and he fell off, even though he had a helmet on, he had a mild traumatic brain injury and mild bleeds in his brain. And so it was a difficult case because when you saw him, when you talked to him, he looked fine and he sounded fine, and so the insurance company was having a difficult time, you know, coming to grips, you know,
what's going on inside,
with what's going on inside and just how deeply he's impacted, right? And so it was a case that we had to try to prove up that he was 100% totally disabled. I remember my opponent because he was Armenian. He was the son of the principal to the Odjaghian high school back then. His name was Odjaghian. And we were in trial in front of this judge who was just incredible. She was an ex-lieutenant and was like super strict. She would say things to me like, counsel, this guy's been practicing law longer than you've been born, show him some respect. And like, I was like, oh my God, I'm for sure gonna lose this. Ultimately, it was a bench trial. There were no jurors. It was just a judge. When I won, and it was like it was a really contentious trial. And we got out. I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know how to behave. It was my first big trial. I had just won. It was very emotional. My client was ecstatic, and it was in like disbelief. I was in a daze a little bit, and I didn't know how to approach my opposing counsel, and I learned so much from him that day. He came up to me, he stuck his hand out, and he said, congratulations, counsel, you did an excellent job. Your client was lucky to have you. Yeah. And he was such a gentleman, even though he had just been duking it out. He was so gentlemanly, and I learned so much from him that day. And it's amazing how much you remember kindness more than the nasty stuff, right? And so we're friends, and when I see him in court, it's really sort of a fond memory for me.
The good always sticks around more than the bad always. So 2 questions. Who is your favorite designer? Because we're in a palace of just beautiful items. So tell us.
That is an unfair question.
No,
so many fabulous ones. So my mom was a big Chanel fan growing up back home, right? Okay. Before we moved here, and then, you know, Chanel was not a part of the reality anymore. But I love it because it's classic, it's nostalgic for me, it reminds me of my childhood, and it's just, I don't know, you feel a certain kind of sophistication when you wear it, and I love how it makes me feel. And I love tweed because I'm a nerd and I'm a grandma at heart. So I love Chanel. and I tend to gravitate towards the French designers, I find. I love Dior because it's got that same elevated sophistication, but it's more laid back and comfortable. Like they do these kinds of pajama tops, or, you know, they do like a nice cashmere sweater and a skirt, so you don't have to be all tweed and, you know, structured up all the time.
What was the first splurge that you invested in? Like, what was it? A bag? Was it a dress? Was it shoes?
Back in law school, God, it was so hard. I didn't have a pot to piss in back then, but maybe like, it was a nice pair of shoes from a store that's no longer around. It was called Diabolina. And it was on Melrose, and they had designer shoes, and it was just beautiful. And I think it must have been like $200 or $300 back then, but it was just
like, I made it, Mom.
I made it. Totally.
You have an event in half an hour. You don't have time to get ready. You have 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. What's your SOS outfit?
Just for the record, I can get ready in 3 minutes if I need to. That's makeup and all. Yes, I'm a former makeup artist. I put myself through school doing makeup. Right? Oh, okay. That's how I afforded college and law school and so forth. So I can get ready in a
Wait, so the fact that you complimented my eyeliner, I should be really, really happy.
Yeah, your makeup is flawless. Good
gosh,
job for you. Yeah, I love that wing liner. But SOS outfit, shit, I think for normal people it's probably like jeans and a top. I don't do jeans because I've got a tummy and it's hard, and I prefer dresses because I think you should dress. I'm not into trends, honestly. I'm into dressing for your body type and in a way that reflects your style. And my body is such that I feel more comfortable in dresses. So I would just do like a nice dress, pair of heels, you know, a vibrant, colorful bag. As you can tell, I love color. I'm not a big black person, and call it a day. But then, you know, my SOS outfit and how fast I can get dressed is going to depend on how many grams of carb, how many cookies I put away that week. But yeah, this year's resolution is to take better care of myself.
Mind you, you guys, she looks like an actual model. I don't know where this is coming from. She's insane.
She needs glasses, but thank you. I love you.
So you guys, that was the end of our interview. She is such a gem to talk with. What an inspiration. I feel inspired. I might be the next Elle Woods myself. I'm just changing my quiz today, you guys. But thank you so much for being on my channel.
Thank you for having me and for coming over.
Of course, and we're going to have more fun. But you guys, do not forget to thumbs up this video before I forget and subscribe to this channel. We're going to play dress ups now, and I'm going to teach her how to eat a Tim Tam.
What's the Tim Tam?
She'll know.
Let's do it.
I'm kidding. She'll know. I love you guys. Bye.
Bye, my love.
Bye, I love how you know my outro more than I do. Oh my god, love. Bye, my love. So I do you guys. Mom. Jean Macho. Bye, my love. So I do you guys so much. Bye.
And cut.